Hi, Gail. My name is Jasel, and it's nice to meet you. So we wanted to talk to you today a little bit about your experience being a marathon runner and how you even got into that.
So I got into running when I was in high school. The way a lot of high school kids get into things, I was peer pressured by my friends who ran on the cross country team. And so this was before I had been diagnosed with my vision disorder. So I ran for several years in high school and then did not run in college for the bulk of college, but was diagnosed with my vision disorder in my freshman year of college. So I took a little time off of running and then got back into it and ran my senior year of college as well and have been running since.
Wow. So if you don't mind me asking, how many years has that been?
Yes. So it's been 12 years
Awesome.
of running. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
In that time, how many events would you say that you've actually participated in?
So I have run 3 full marathons, 1 50K, which is 31 miles. I could not tell you how many half marathons, but a bunch. And a lot of 5Ks, 10Ks. And I just started a summer trail series here in Portland. So the first race was last night, and that'll go every Wednesday throughout the summer.
I think most individuals would probably say that running with a visual impairment is scary altogether. How did you, I guess, get over that fear? Were you ever afraid?
I guess, so the fear for me is a fear of falling and then, breaking bones and things like that. In terms of other things that I think about are getting lost, running in a new area where I'm not familiar with it, or running with cars and cyclists. Mm-hmm. So I tend to be mostly a road runner, and I tend to stick to pretty much the same routes, which is helpful because then I know where to really pay attention and things like that. But one of the great things about living in a city is that right now there's a lot of push towards more pedestrian friendly and more cyclist friendly areas with fewer stoplights. So if I can get down to the waterfront here or in Baltimore down to the harbor, you don't have to deal with as many cars, as many stoplights, as many other people. And so that makes it a lot easier. But I also work hard on my balance and the strength of my ankles, because if I do trip or I do hit something, then I've got that core strength to sort of bring me back upright without just falling down.
How would you say that coast running and trails, I guess, would compare to life in Portland and maybe some of the West Coast trails and biking and bike lanes? It seems that Oregon in general seems to be a little bit more eco-friendly and more they advocate for walking and cycling and things like that.
Yes. It's definitely more of a lifestyle thing out here, I think, than it is in Baltimore. I biked to work in Baltimore for 2 years as well. And when there's snow in Baltimore, the plows push it into the bike lanes so that you don't have a bike lane anymore. So the mentality there is different, right? Everyone's driving. No one's really biking when it's snowing outside anyway. So they just take the bike lanes. Whereas here, the climate is more mild. And I think that helps people be able to bike year round because we don't have the humidity and we don't have as much of the snow. So it's something that you can do all the time, pretty much. When I bike to work here, because I work at such a major university where we have a big bike program, we also get paid to bike to work. So, so I log every day. I log when I bike, and I get $1 for every time that I bike to work.
That's amazing.
It's fabulous. When I bike to work, if I bike during rush hour, it's congested. The bike lanes are congested with people, which is an interesting experience and is great to see. It's difficult for me because I'm trying to navigate a lot of visual cues all at the same time. So I try to bike so that I'm getting to work at like 8:15 instead of 8 or 8:30, because that seems to help.
Would you say the bike lanes there are wider than they are here?
I don't think so, but I do think that they are more dedicated. They are more separated from the road. And there are a lot of bike lanes that have a little meridian, I guess, instead of sharing the lane. So in Baltimore, the bike lane often shares the lane with the buses.
Right.
Which is terrifying.
It is.
So, you're pedaling as fast as you possibly can to stay in front of the bus, or you're right behind the bus and you're getting the fumes from the bus. So it's terrifying. Whereas here, that does happen, but there are a lot more dedicated lanes or actually physically separated lanes, which is really nice.
Wonderful. So you have a unique perspective because you've lived both in the West Coast and Oregon, as well as here in Baltimore. So for someone who has any type of physical impairment, what type of advice would you give to them if they wanted to start walking or running here in Baltimore?
I can't say enough good things about the harbor. You can go on the harbor. You can go 10 miles out and back. And it's very pedestrian friendly. It's very well lit. It's beautiful to look at. And there are always people out, which is really nice. I think also finding people to go with and people to be with is really important. Having a friend who you can say, let's go for a walk, especially someone who knows that you might have difficulty in certain places. It's nice for me to run with people who know that to watch for, the lip of a curb or something like that, that I might not otherwise see, to just point it out real quick. Makes me feel a lot more comfortable. And so I think having a place where you feel safe and you feel in control of your environment, but also having someone there to help you navigate in case a situation arises, has been really helpful.
Would you consider having a physical impairment a barrier to physical activity?
I wouldn't necessarily pick up a sport that involves hand-eye coordination and a ball. Whereas, I did a lot of that as a kid, but isn't, I think, one of my strengths at this point.
So Gail, could you tell us a little bit more about your condition?
So I have Stargardt's disease, which is a form of juvenile macular degeneration. Macular degeneration is typically for people who are like 65 and older. It's one of the leading causes of blindness for older people. So mine is a juvenile form, which means essentially that my retinas are falling apart. So my eyes can't process vitamin A correctly, which is what you find in carrots and things like that, which causes little white spots to form on my retinas, and is causing a loss of central vision. So reading, faces, stoplights, that sort of stuff. So I tend to use my peripheral vision to look around things But right now, with my contacts in, my vision is about 20/200, which means it's about 10% of normal vision.
I think that what you are doing is incredible. I think you are very inspiring, and your positivity is infectious.